Hey everybody, it's Michael
and Carter,
and this is another episode of Hammercircuit. Today marks a wonderful day where instead of just doing podcasting, Hammercircuit has taken a great leap into engineering.
Absolutely. So we're going to be uploading our progress onto Medium and onto YouTube, along with Facebook as well, just as a sideline.
Right.
So you can check Hammercircuit on Facebook, YouTube, and Medium, just if you want to see some progress with that. So today we're going to be talking about hydrogen as an actual fuel source and how we are building a hydrogen manufacturing plant. Would you like to just discuss a few of the details, Michael?
Right. We'll also leave links below regarding the project. So a couple of days back, I believe, was it last week or something, right? We were talking about hydrogen and jet engines, and Carter had this wonderful idea to potentially make like a jet engine, because jet engines are super useful, like in there is a form of propulsion and it's used mostly in aircraft, and it could also technically be used in
you could use
rockets.
You could use it for
not necessarily
not space rocket, but
yeah,
you could also just attach to any motor vehicle that you want to.
So you could have
build
a jet car.
Yeah, I saw someone build a jet bike on YouTube, and it was pretty cool, I gotta say. So, in a nutshell, our goal is to attempt to get some form of a jet engine or turbo engine fueled off of hydrogen. So, the first step that we are doing before we actually build the jet engine, we are working on the hydrogen manufacturing, because there's no point in having a jet engine that doesn't have fuel to feed it, right?
Right, and another thing I when we were looking at the jet engine and we were looking at how could we make this work with hydrogen is that if you've taken science class a lot in high school, they have these cool things called Bunsen burners, which are actually powered by gas.
Mm-hmm.
And if you in a jet engine, they have this thing called the combustion chamber, which basically just has a circle of these Bunsen burners that heats up the cold air that's coming through.
Right. So the point of the combustion chamber, it's kind of hard to explain verbally, but in a nutshell, just to explain it really simply, it is a chamber that semi-protects the flame, because obviously if you put compressed air onto a flame, it will just snuff it out really quickly. But if you protect it well enough and have some holes throughout the protection, it allows some of the compressed air to hit the flame, allowing it to grow larger and more powerful,
and heat the air in the process.
Yeah, heat the air and create velocity, which obviously is going to fuel the thrust of the jet, right? So that's the point of the combustion chamber. It's to semi-shield the flame in order to produce a larger
flame.
Yeah, flame.
So, I mean, that's basically our end goal, is to build a sort of jet engine. Not necessarily a large one, but one that, is usable.
Yeah. I'm thinking that we should probably, if we get it successfully working, we should build some craft. It wouldn't be like an aircraft, obviously.
Like a small-wheeled vehicle?
Yeah, small-wheeled vehicle. Potentially a go-kart. I know we have a lawnmower engine that we could use to turn into a go-kart.
Interesting.
That'd be a fun project. Or we could just attach it to a bike. That's always a possibility.
I would not be the human passenger for that.
I could be. I would do it.
You're going to have to cover yourself in a lot of bubble wrap, my friend.
A lot of bubble wrap.
So,
I'd be willing to do that.
Yeah, so if we're going to use hydrogen as a fuel source, we need to actually somehow obtain it. And that's when we thought about actually generating our own hydrogen. There's actually a really simple way of doing it with this process, or this chemical process called electrolysis. And to put it simply, you're just putting electricity through water.
Yeah. So what you do is you want stainless steel plates to do this, or some form of stainless steel. So negative flows to positive, right? So you take a battery. We have a car battery and some jumper cables. We hook them up, and it's kind of hard to verbally explain it, but
we'll make sure to link the video below.
Right. But you have water, and you need some sort of a catalyst in the water. We chose
baking soda.
Baking soda. And you have stainless steel in the water, and the tops of the stainless steel are popping out of the water. and this is a sealed jar. You want to make sure it's completely airtight, otherwise the hydrogen will escape. You connect the jumper cables to the pieces of stainless steel, and you have to make sure that the stainless steel is separated, otherwise it won't work. And then the negative flows to the positive end, and what it does is it creates hydrogen. So you then have some form of a tubing that's also connected to the jar, to which you use to siphon out the hydrogen.
Right. And basically, through electrolysis, it's not just generating hydrogen, it's also generating oxygen, because if you didn't know, water is 2 parts hydrogen and 1 part oxygen, so it splits
Wait,
it.
Are you telling me water is H2O?
Yeah, it's so fascinating. It's really fascinating.
Wow, never knew that.
So you're generating hydrogen and oxygen gas, and so I mean you could either just completely like split the two, but I mean when hydrogen is flammable, which means that it'll catch on fire if it has an oxidizer. Oxygen is an oxidizer, so I mean more or less you could probably keep them together to a certain degree.
Like obviously there has to be more hydrogen than oxygen, but to some degree you should have some oxygen in there.
Right.
Otherwise it probably wouldn't work as efficiently.
Yeah.
We're still doing tests. This is the beta version. We are not working on the alpha version yet. The reason why we had the prototype, which is the first video, we'll link that in the description.
It was a fairly small container, and it only lasts about maybe 2-3 minutes.
Yeah, before part of the problem with that was it was not stainless steel we used, and stainless steel rusts because of the oxygen that is being separated from the hydrogen. And
the rust makes it less conductive.
Yeah, so eventually it just stops producing hydrogen, and you get a really mucky looking water. So you really need stainless steel for the job. You can watch our videos. We're about to upload a video on how to actually produce your own hydrogen production plant. And we're going to talk now about some of the utilization of hydrogen, because in a nutshell, hydrogen, by some people say this, it's like the fuel of the future. And here's why. It's zero emission. 2 teenagers can produce it in the backyard, with some fairly cheap products you can buy at a hardware store. And it can be used to fuel your car. You can watch YouTube videos of people fuel their car very easily with hydrogen. Companies like Boeing use it to fuel some planes and engines and such. The list goes on. So to some degree, hydrogen very well could be the fuel of the future. Obviously, we're investing into solar and wind energy right now, forms of renewable energy. But the good news is that hydrogen is also renewable energy, and it's zero emission. So if we really did need a gas to fuel something, like if there wasn't enough horsepower,
well,
that could
I mean,
be produced
it's not. Sorry to interject, but it's not necessarily a form of energy, but more of a storage of energy.
Yeah.
Because it takes energy to actually get the hydrogen from the water.
Mm-hmm. So. That's true. But the point I was really trying to drive is that you can use it because, let's face it, there's right now electric cars just aren't powerful enough to be sold everywhere. Like for a neighborhood like ours, it would be practical, right? Because you can drive it around and there's nothing too extreme. But in a I was almost going to say it was a different country, but it's the same, Alaska, where it's a bit rougher. It would be hard to sell an electric car to someone in Alaska simply because it doesn't have the horsepower to actually drive through some of the terrain of Alaska, right? And you can find other examples of that all across America. So if you really needed the horsepower to achieve that, hydrogen can get you there. Right. And that's what's amazing about it.
So, I mean, really a couple of downsides about hydrogen is that it's highly flammable, and you probably don't want to burn a lot of it at once because you'll have a Hindenburg disaster.
Yeah, you don't want a Hindenburg to happen in your car.
Right, but as long as you have like a really controlled environment and you're controlling, you have a one-way exhaust. You're not having it where it burns all the hydrogen at once. I think it could be a really viable fuel source. It's just there has to be a lot of precautions, a lot more than a traditional like gasoline fuel.
Right, I completely agree with that. So that just about wraps up everything we're going to talk about, everything we wanted to talk about. We're going to make this a short podcast, so we're going to wrap it up right now.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching. I'm Carter.
I'm Michael.
See you guys next time.